What's up, guys? We are back with a weekend Q&A round 14, except this time we are doing it on a weekday. All these questions here were submitted to the request box over the last few weeks, and today I'm going to answer every single one of them. Everything from data and tracking around split payments to show rate process to organic that leads to high ticket sales to DM setting, AI implementation, VSL phone call funnels, offer creation structuring, technical setup to ads, all the things. There's so much context here, and I'm going to do my best to provide as much value as humanly possible to you and get these answered. All right. Last year in our info coaching business, we did over 30 million in cash collected. We've now actually done over 90 million in total cash collected in this business, and I'm not selling anything. Everything on the channel is share what did work, what did not work, and what we are actively doing to scale this business to over 100 million a year, all with the goal of finding top talent, opportunities, and networking with cool people, building cool stuff. All right, let's get into it. For context, I have not made videos in a minute, so I'm a little rusty. This is like my 15th attempt at starting this, but we're going to roll with it. All right. First one, what is your process system with split payments, and how do you sort, track everything and make sure it's paid up? What kind of consequences and timeline if not? All right, so first things first, split payments versus PIF. So PIF, P-I-F, stands for paid in full. Let's use an example here of $8,000 PIF. Okay, so you're selling your customer $8,000 for access to the thing or for coaching with you for a year or for whatever. A lot of the time what people will do is internal payment plans, so split payments, that equal out to an amount that's more, okay? So like $10,000 for pay of $2,500. Now people do this differently. We have 4 payments of $2,500. That's either the month 1, 2, 3, 4, or that is, depending if it's over a year, they'll sometimes do it quarterly. So it's like $2,500 to start, $2,500, $2,500 every quarter, so every 3 months instead. Other ways that people will do this is split payments out through external financing plans. I have a whole video where I talk about this on like the different cash troughs and like when certain people need to get paid, when you collect cash. But all to say, when you use external financing, a lot of the time you'll get that same number, just minus the fee, and you'll get that up front, and they will handle the payments to a Klarna, an Affirm, a Splitit, a whoever, and you get a portion of that PIF up front. Helps with cash flow, helps you get more cash collected up front, XYZ. So how do we track everything? So proactively, what you can do is make sure you have any of these things set up correctly. So your math is correct is a big one. I see people all the time who are like, oh, it's 5K for the year or 5 payments of 1,000. And it's like, okay, well, there's no incentivizing someone to PIF. So why would someone do that? Another way that a lot of people can do this is by setting up basically what's called, like we call them deferred PIFs. So pushing the cash to the first 30 days. So you can incentivize sales reps, you can incentivize CS, fulfillment, whoever, to push those payments up front. So someone still joins with the pay plan. Let's say they join with one of those 2,500s, but you incentivize XYZ person, and inside that first 30 days, you're like, hey, are you loving the program? Okay, well, you agreed to 10K in payments. I can honor the PIF pricing of 8K, so you just pay the spread between the 2,500 and 8K if you do it in that first 30 days because you're loving it so much. So depending on where your business lives or how you want to control the cash flow, how much certainty you want around the cash that you've collected, you can do that as well. So that's kind of the proactive side of things, is just doing that and pushing the cash forward as much as possible, incentivizing it in the right ways, including certain things when you do PIF. But tracking for everything can be done in a million places. So the simplest answer is you set this up inside of a subscription tracking platform, meaning like Stripe has this, WAP has this, or you can put it in your CRM or a sheet or whatever. I mean, your HubSpot table, anywhere that you want to track this of when the next payments are. So once you have all of that set, those are going to automatically attempt to bill. Now on the reactive side of that and tracking of that, if it fails, what are your notification sets for failed payments? Do they fire into a Slack channel? Do you get an email? What to know that payment did not go through? And does that go to you and to the customer? And then what kind of consequences? We don't really have like, I've heard of people go to like small claims court, just do a lot of stuff. That's just not in our ethos and how we operate. It's obviously not great, and that's why we try and push as much cash forward as possible. So for timeline, it's like if they're not responding, that's a lot different than if like they're gathering the cash or trying to figure it out for a couple days or something. Like, you know, we're a little more lenient with that. But if they're like full non-responding, depending if you're selling info, you can kick them out of the community, the course, the whatever. If you have coaching, you stop fulfilling on the coaching, so now you don't have the cost to fulfill on the coach. Like ideally, you would have gotten the revenue or the cash collected as well as fulfilled on the contract. But if they're not on their end, you're not on your end, so you then reduce the cost that you would have had. But yeah, that's essentially it. So proactive tracking, there, and then reactive, making sure that you're following up, trying to update card on file. Do you need to switch your payment method, XYZ? But making sure you have both of those so you know when the payments are when you're starting to do that. We're actually doing a whole overhaul right now of this in like terms of like a custom data solution in order to track this, because ours has been kind of messy. Ours have always been on subscription like platforms auto, but when you start doing like custom payments on the front and then the schedule isn't set correctly, but more so just on the overall data tracking. So I think I just spent 5 minutes talking about that, but it's important. All right, Ryan, you mentioned number 2. Hey, Ryan, you mentioned you knew some guys who built out some theme pages. Yes. And made some serious money doing so. I don't really personally know these guys, but I've heard great things. I run a sports page on Instagram and TikTok that has been growing extremely quickly, 230,000 combined followers in the last 8 months. I want to turn this into a real business. Heck yeah. I asked a similar question in the past, and you said I should lean into building out pages instead of selling info and creating competition for myself. Agreed. I asked Cardinal Mason the same question. Good dude. And he said identical thing. Even better dude. I think the best way to scale this is by hiring VAs and giving them my SOPs to grow multiple pages at once. I've made some decent money selling one-off promos in the past, but when I was much smaller, and I think the real money is in closing big deals on a monthly basis with larger brands. Do you think hiring VAs and growing multiple pages simultaneously and then monetizing by closing deals with large brands by showing them I own a network of accounts is the best way to reach the scale and turn into a real business? Also, to the best of your knowledge, does this strategy align with what you guys do, or did they run a different model? Thank you so much for doing this, man. All right, so I don't like personally know these guys like super well, but I've heard this is fantastic, and I also know other people in the space that do it. So shout out to them because this is like a great business model. So you just essentially own the traffic, right? So like instead of having to pay Meta in order to pay for a click, you already own the audience. So it's the same way if you own an email list, the same way if you own a community, it's the same way if you own customers because you paid for them and now they're customers. Like you just have an audience that follows you in a specific niche around a specific thing. Now, to get around the business model, I'm not extremely clear. I had a video with Oren John on here, and he talks about it from the influencer perspective and how much he gets paid on certain deals, which is like crazy numbers. So it's the same idea and the same model where he has a personality brand around a specific niche of things and content that businesses are willing to pay to be in front of. So whether that is per post, whether that is percentage rev share, whatever that is, the simplest example is you have an audience that's all around XYZ niche of software thing. You have an affiliate link in your bio, and when people join that software, you get a commission on that. That is performance version versus a software reaches out to you and will pay you $5,000 to make a post. So in sports, I'm blanking on the name of the guys that sold theirs, but one sold for like 50 million plus. And to my understanding, it was not about being multiple pages simultaneously, because really what it's about is, I'm sure there's some sort of like risk mitigation of it being on one account versus multiple, but the network of accounts is like a different model, especially if you're in different niches, than the idea of one large account with one large brand name and like, household name for basketball or household name for whatever. There's like Friday Beers or, Barstool or whoever are examples of this where they have XYZ niche, and of course they have kind of like sub niches within there or like cross, but it's the brand itself, not necessarily the idea that you just have a ton of them, a network. It's like they built up the core thing. So I think more so, is there a model where you can continue to do it on a sports page that's niche within there? And I don't necessarily know the answer to that. Like, can you grow this to you're the dominant one that has 10 million followers? Like, how deep can you take one specific thing? More so than can I have one that's over here in this niche and one that's in a business niche and one that's in a personal finance niche and one that's in a sports or whatever. So like, I think in my opinion, it would be go deeper on the main thing, because the more reach you have in one specific vertical ICP, the more you understand them, the more all of that kind of stuff works. So in order to grow that, I would assume it's doing more of the same and or finding more sources in order to grow it. And then the other side of it is more ways to monetize it. So is it by post? Is it by partnership? Is it by rev share? Is it by, moving them from one audience type, from social following to owned audience, which is email, SMS, all these other verticals in which you can communicate and have them as your audience? Can it grow into a community that you have that's a free community on School, or a WAP paid group, or a this or that, right? Like, how does the ecosystem get bigger? It's like, how do you increase the traffic flow, which is like growing the page and the audience there? And then how can you diversify them into where else you can communicate with them and own the audience in the case that your page goes down or something? And then how can you monetize them, which is like the different layers of monetization through XYZ. And then, the monetization of the audience as well as the reach, all the things. So hopefully that makes sense. But I think that's more so the strategy than going wide and having a bunch of different ones, unless you're going for like the network play, which is like, people already do this and buy up accounts and own tons of them. So yeah. Next one. I'm part of a career transformation offer. I don't really know what that means. How can we get show rate up? I can help with that. Currently 40%. We have 15 intake questions. So I think this means like going from one career to another. I don't necessarily specifically know the ICP, but I guess that doesn't really matter. How can we get the show rate up? So you're at 40%. So show rates are difficult. Show rates are, we're going to use this probably a lot today, but like how to think in extremes. So what's the chances to get someone to 100% show up, or what would you have to offer for someone 100% to show up for calls? Is like, if someone was going to be, XYZ, like bad thing, if this amazing thing, if you were going to win the lottery only if you answered at this certain time or showed up to your call at this time and you'd win $1 million. 0% is you book a call, and then on the thank you page, you get hammered with 40 texts that are about like, moving across the country, and you're trying to, win the $1 million. It's like, doesn't make sense, right? Like you need consistency, continuity throughout that, and a good enough offer for the reason that people want to show up. So 40% is low, but it's not like crazy low for where the market is currently at. So the functions of show rate are essentially, what is the framing someone is booking for? So you had 15 intake questions, and I assume what you're meaning by that is like the application prior to the booking. So they're applying, they're then booking, and then they're not showing, or only 40% of them are showing. So application is good because you have the opportunity to frame them and get them to want to book, right? But you also then, when in that process, want them to want to show. They want to have this conversation. They want to join your program. They want to apply. They want to go, whatever the thing is. They want the result is really what they want. They want to lose weight. They want to, increase their income. They want to do whatever. So it sounds like the framing is off. And then all the things you can do post-booking is like educate. So Jeremy Haynes has tons of content on this, so just go binge this. But everything on the thank you page, everything in the communication, everything where you show up is now what is critically important once they book. So there are a lot of things you can do on the front, and like how you're framing it, and what the offer is, and why they're even applying for a call, or applying and booking a call, whatever the framing is there. And the other side of it is like, think if you over here are like, oh, join this free thing and book this free call, and then on the thank you page, you're like, hey, just so you know, there's a 5K offer and this and this and this. Like, no one's going to show for it because there's distance, because you didn't say it was expensive over here, and you're saying it's expensive on the back. So on the thank you page, you want the, pre-frame video, which is like, congratulations, affirmation. You took the first step. Here's what you need to know for the call. Show up at this time. Make sure you do this. Make sure you do this. Here's how we're going to contact you. We're going to reach out. And other things on the page are like FAQs, testimonials. So like FAQs, hear what most people ask. And idea being, if they want to consume information and if they have questions, they can get them answered prior to the call. So it's not a bunch of Q&A on the call before the close. It's more so just to close on the call, right, is the goal. So FAQ, testimonials all throughout there, long form, different types, because you don't necessarily know who the person is. So this type of ICP if you have multiple, this type of ICP if you have a different one, right? Going through that. And then Jeremy Haynes' other stuff, hammer them strategy. You're now going to own their feed basically for the next 48 hours until their call, or whatever that range is. So you take all the people that have booked, put them in an audience, get them onto Facebook, get them into Meta, and you're hitting them with different long form ads, short form ads, testimonials, trust builders, different FAQs, all of that stuff on Meta or on wherever prior to them getting on the call. Other things you can do is send emails that have more context and information. And then the big ones are trying to contact them. So immediately, speed to lead, someone books, fires into a Slack channel, setter calls them, hey, reaching out, just want to confirm your call. This is the process we go, whatever. Do you understand it's a Zoom call? Do you understand that you booked for Eastern time, not Central? Okay, cool. Here's what to expect. Here's this and this, build rapport. Cool. Now, 3-way text with the lead, the setter, the closer. hey, just got off with so-and-so. They're super jazzed to talk. Here's some context, whatever. And you drop them in a group chat. Now there's more closeness. They feel the need to show up because of XYZ. So there's a lot of levers you can pull. You should think of this like levers. Everything in this is levers. So yeah, framing, trust assets, stuff in the back, question answers, all the fun. So I have a previous client from an agency that wants to go to a sales coaching angle. He's opening a few gyms per year. He has a partner in another business with tech company money. He's doing $15K a month, inviting other gym owners to his weekly sales trainings with his team from 8 gym locations. No other programs or offers, not his focus right now. He's got a lot going on, but is a pusher. Should I offer to publish him? He's great on camera doing organic, but has no tech operator chops like I do. Yeah, I mean, go for it. Like, this is a model. This is one of the features of Gym Launch at one point. They had like the sales squad thing. I don't remember what they called it, but you could basically, like, if you bought it, then your sales reps could all join the like mass sales trainings that they would do. So it was like a one-to-many situation where it was hosted by them, and then you could join it. I think Closers actually does another version of this. Closers.io, Cole Gordon, I think, does this. So yeah, I mean, definitely can do it. I don't really necessarily know what the specific offer is, and if someone's like busy like this, like, yeah, feel free to offer to publish him. I just don't know if someone who's got a lot going on and they're the main fulfillment is going to want to do this. I mean, if they're already doing it, the idea is that this is a one-to-many offer. So if he has, I don't know if you said this, but let's say he had 8 gym locations and all their staff on there, and you got him to 80 and it had the same efficiency, like, yeah, you can make a spread on getting him to 100K a month, and you make, 50% of everything you bring in, or whatever the math is. To build a whole offer around him and something different around him would take work from him as well. So just knowing that if he's got a lot going on and it's not a priority to him, that it might not make sense. But dependent, there's a lot of things you kind of threw in here with business partners that have tech money and what he's making on the side. Seems like, there's a lot going on. So yeah, it would definitely work. The question is just like, is the partnership going to be good? Do they want to do it? Does it make sense for them to do based on their other opportunities? Saw a tweet from CCM, love these guys, that they did a video for you. Yes, they have been doing videos for us. I'm starting to work with a client that wants to run purely long form for traffic to a VSL, book a call funnel, high ticket offer. How are you structuring your long form content funnel? Video styles, topics to hit the right avatar. All right, so this is perfect because these guys, Rockstars, CCM, just asked me for a testimonial video, so I will do it right here and clip this, my guy, and you can use this one. So we use them right now because we have never focused on first click organic. We have, not to say we've never focused on it, we've never successfully done it, is probably a better way to say it. Like, we have tried kind of to do it, but we have always been a very paid heavy company. And then our long form and our organic exists in middle and bottom of funnel. It is used in resources. It is used for already to send to leads. It is used as a web. Once people consume a piece of content, they can consume more, and basically just a massive consumption moat. Okay, so that's how it's always been built. We've never directly optimized for like the craziest, first click and all the YouTube first organic, all of that. So we are attempting to do that, and we are paying these guys to do it. They're doing about 4 or 5 videos a month for us right now. They are outliers. They're standing out as outliers. It is like you can directly see which ones they're making. They are doing literally everything. We're just filming. So they are like doing ideation. They're coming up with titles. They're coming up with scripting. They are then giving it to us, and we are filming. So we're doing this one, and then they are doing all the post-production edits. They are making thumbnails, they are posting them, and they're doing titles and all that stuff. So like, it's everything outside of it, but us having to film it, which is like fantastic. So major pros and kudos to them for that. Like, I should do that, honestly, for me, but like, I don't want to be all fancy and like show in that kind of way. And that's not really my goal of my content. Now, to speak in terms of data, and this is where I was like, I'm going to be honest about this in a testimonial. Thus far, we're in one. Today is middle of September or early September. They have run for us since July. So we've had all of July, all of August. In that range, we did about $10.5 million in cash collected, a little more than that. And on first click, it has generated like 9K across a range that we did $10.5 million. But on last click, it's like somewhere near like 100K. And if you look at total clicks across that range, it's like 35, 4,000, something like that, on what is not a lot of organic in like terms of, what you guys watch and all these crazy videos with tens of thousands or hundreds and millions of views. Like ours is not like that. So it actually has a lot of clicks that are coming through. Now, it has not directly converted and done the exact thing that I want it to do, which is like generate new audience and find cold audience that then comes into our ecosystem through there. And at least, again, my tracking is based off them clicking on a link that has a tracking link on it, either in the description or the links or the comments. So overall, extremely happy with the guys. I love the idea. I think everyone should do long form organic. I think it builds trust. It has consumption. Their stuff is really good. But in terms of like, has it been the direct attribution for first click? We also run so many ads. We also already exist in this audience. We also have been doing it for years. So like it's a little bit of a different game. But yeah, so that is my overall experience. They're great. I'm just excited for when first click is like millions of dollars, not when it's like not that big of a needle mover, but I believe we can get there. So now, how are we running to it? So initially we had it as 2 links. So we were running to a VSL opt-in, the core VSL opt-in funnel, and then we were running to a low ticket offer. So we had 2 links. It was basically like get this or get this. It does get a bunch of low ticket sales. They have not directly ascended more than the others based on quick tracking because we can see which ones ascend up in that tracker I was just talking about. But we did remove the opt-in one about a month ago, to go direct to a DTA instead of an opt-in, with the idea that they just consumed XYZ amount of content. They already have the consumption. They're going directly to basically apply, right? They're going directly to do that. So to gate them, back to Jeremy Haynes, like if you use opt-in pages, people hate money, but it's more so about the intent. So if someone already has consumed X amount of content, is ready to apply and goes to an opt-in page, they put in their name and email, then they get redirected to a VSL and it has no apply button and they're just kind of like lost in it. And you got the email, so you can like re-engage and email and like bring them back in, and a new way to communicate with them, but it's not like right there. So instead, we're using a DTA page, which is headline VSL application button, so they can directly just apply, go from YouTube video consumption to direct page that they can apply. But even that, like it gets a ton of clicks. We are getting more apps and bookings when we use that model versus the other, but it has not directly backed out more. So I'm not going to say that we've like crushed it with this, but video styles and topics, yeah, just right to the avatar. So this is not my lane. These guys are doing a lot of this kind of for us right now. But we're testing all kinds of stuff. So we're testing, just depends on the niche specific, but like, is it day in the life versus like deep detail versus, the top 5 things versus this and this. So they're trying a bunch of these different ones. But yeah, these guys definitely know what they're talking about. So DM setting, I'm already at 20 minutes. Oops. DM setting and getting inbound prospects for a client on X. 10 to 15% daily reply rate to the opener. How would you structure the process from qualifying, providing value, proof, pitching, and making sure he's financially qualified before booking a call? So this is more we don't do like any of this. So if you go to my video I did with Jeremy Moser, he talks about this a lot and they're doing it on Instagram, but like similar idea is you have them in the DMs. So you're already doing getting the 10 to 15% response rate. Now, once you have them responding, depending on what the opener is, yeah, it's conversational. So it is back and forth. What are the biggest? This is not my lane, so I'm like speaking out of my, right now when I say this. But you're qualifying. You're doing exactly what you're saying. You're providing value. You're qualifying. You're like they're already now looking at your page. Does the page have all the things to provide a moat to have trust build assets on them? Can they enter in now a link in your bio that points them to this and this? Is your bio directly headline calling out who you help and what you help them with? That is a direct problem these people have. Can they, scroll through the feed and you're just providing case studies and helpful things and XYZ? Does all of that exist? One. Then qualifying them, are they a person that actually needs this thing that you're providing them? Do they want this result? Being able to have simple assets you can send them that do provide value to them and or provide proof to them. And then you're not really pitching at that point. You're pushing them to, now you kind of have the qualified part. Financially qualified, I don't know how people directly do this in DM, and then pushing them to the app or the booking, right? So it all comes down to like if you have a good enough offer and you're matched with an ICP that actually needs it, like it's a no-brainer. It's just another communication method. There's someone else you can look up on YouTube that's going to give you more valuable insights on this, like a Jeremy Moser or other. Info offer around AI implementation in business. Your demo is for entrepreneurs. How would you leverage affiliate and influencers to grow? Low ticket offer for templates and courses, sending up into a high ticket coaching is assume what you mean by this. So an info offer that's around AI implementation in your business. How would you lever affiliates and influencers to grow? So in general, when you're targeting affiliates and influencers and you're going to the demo of entrepreneurs, you just need to find affiliates and influencers that have the audience of entrepreneurs. It's like step one. Now it is what kind of content, what is the cost to create the content or, to post, to have the distribution. And can you do that as a percentage in like an affiliate deal where they only get paid when you get paid as a percentage? Or does it have to be, an influencer style thing where you pay $5K to get a post, back to what I was talking about earlier. So you just have to know your math and your economics on what you're willing to offer, because, you have to know what your LTV essentially is with this, of what you're willing to pay for a customer. So if it's sending them to this low ticket, templates and course, and it's a no brainer and it costs $100 and you're able to pay 50 or 100, or if you know what your ascension is into high ticket and you're able to pay, 300 on that, who knows what you're willing to, but it's really what they're willing to take as well, like depending on who the affiliates and influencers are. But yeah, I think that's one way. And then the other thing is like right now you're just saying, I want my traffic source to be affiliates and influencers, which is good. It's a traffic source. And people do I use the example on here, the guy that does over 100 million a year, they run no ads and they just do partnerships, and they're basically the back end of all these other businesses, and they crush. So that is a traffic source, but you can also run paid to this, and you can also build organic content to drive sales for that. You can do a lot of other traffic sources to grow this, because this is interesting. We literally were sending one back and forth in our Instagram chat yesterday, and it was a cool sales page. It was a great ad. It was a great sales page that had a bunch of cool stuff on it, and then it was a direct to cart for $1,800, and I was like, okay, well, I'm not buying that right now. But depending on if I would have gone through, if there was some low ticket version of it and then I entered that and then there was some upgraded version, who knows what I would have bought. But just hitting the cart, or not even the cart, but the buy button, and it's saying $1,800 over it, I was like, I'm not indoctrinated enough to know what this is to pay $1,800. But the idea was the same thing. It was an info offer about how to apply AI into your business as an entrepreneur, and how to leverage it as the owner. So they were spot on. I just wasn't ready for the type of entry that they were trying to do. And there was no opt or anything. So now I assume I get retargeted, but they can't email me or reach out or send or anything. So good business though. I help sport coaches train athletes online, and we're doing a little over $100K a month. We've had tons of resistance on the front end, and my hypothesis is because the market isn't sold as a majority on the mechanism of online coaching. Tons of resistance on the front end, and my hypothesis is because it's sold on the mechanism of online coaching, okay? I'm sure there are other industries where there's a ton of skepticism around the model itself, but I have tons of case studies and proof that the model works. There's still tons of resistance. We're currently selling info product for $5K with an upsell of $10 to $18K. I really want to watch a done-for-you rev share portion of my business because there's so much resistance to the model itself, and 5 of my best clients, $50 to $30K a month, said they'd be down for 25 to 35. Help sports coaches train athletes online. Sports coaches train athletes. Okay. I've been thinking about pushing my focus to growth operator model and selling coaching as a program as an afterthought because of the resistance to the offer I currently have. If I gave you control of the business, what are you pushing, done for you or done with you, and why? Additionally, if you went done with you, what conversion mechanism and why? All right, so I'm not fully understanding, if I'm being honest. I help sports coaches train athletes online. So you help the actual sports coach who runs a business. You're helping... it's like a biz op. You're helping these guys train athletes online, and your business is doing over $100K a month, and you're helping people who are doing 30 to 50K a month but are lower. So we've had tons of resistance on the front end because of the market not wanting to be online coaches. So you're helping somebody who locally helps soccer players get better at their craft, and you're trying to take them and bring them online. All right, one, the model's proven. It works. I know guys who do $1 million a month in this exact niche as the actual people who do it with the client, not with an actual, the person who's playing the sport. And it is remote, and they have an in-person function on the very tail end if someone wants to, but almost all of it is remote. So the business model is proven and works. So I don't know that that's even true in terms of resistance, because you can prove that it's done in the marketplace. Second, just to your like done for you or done with you approach. I mean, if you can, with an easy service delivery, get 25 to 35% of their business and build a bunch of these up and just own the network of them that do it with like a face, you're essentially just being like you said, a growth operator and doing it there. So essentially what you can do then is instead have your coaching program as an info. So it's like it's the tranches of ascension. It's like you can sell a 2K course that's just like an info product that's like, here's how I run all my stuff and here's my systems and here's the login access and like, go have fun. Do you want me to help you? And if you help me, done with you, it's 10K instead of 2K or 5K or whatever. And then if you want me to just do it for you, then it's 50K or it's rev share or it's whatever. Like the monetization amount or type can change as the implementation changes, but you can still have your thing. So we're talking about this at, Daniel was actually talking about this, Fazio, about how you sell like the done for you result as the way you get people in the door, because it is an option. So it's like the best offer you can make, and that's what you run in your ads, and that's what the public. And it was like, learn how you can do this, this, and this, or learn for you, and it'll be completely hands off and all the amazing dream scenario. They come in, and when they actually get to the point of the sales call, it's like, we have these different options. A lot of people just want to like try and do it themselves, and they'll whatever. This is like a 2K offer. Most of them, we come in here and we just do it with you, where we help you through this and this group coaching and do it whatever, where we're kind of like hands-on. And if really you just kind of want to be more or less hands-off and just be the face, then for 25 to 35% of your rev, we'll just build this thing around you. And it's like, okay, so you stayed true to your promise of what your offer was we will just do this for you, but it's like the most expensive, ideally, way to do it. Or we have this option, which most people choose, which is like our flagship middle. Or if you don't even want help at all and you think you can do this on your own, here are the tools and the secrets and the way to do it. It's just $2,000, and you always have a version that you can sell. So I hope that helps. But I would almost always get these people on the phone. So I would do a DTA funnel, which is the headline VSL application, and then get them on the phone. Because when they're on the phone, you can sell them these different things versus like having 3 modules on a page that's like this option, this option, this option. They click on it and they look around. They're like, I don't really know which one's for me. And they have like one question and they bounce. Versus like you're on the phone, it's like you change the price from 10K to 5K in 2 seconds. Or you can add this other thing. Or you can like get market research on what people actually want and need, which you already kind of have. But yeah, so hopefully that's helpful. I'm currently running a VSL plus masterclass plus phone call funnel where we help women lose weight. Now I'm thinking of going more niche with my avatar. For example, women over 40 who want to lose 20K. The question is, should I build a completely new funnel for each avatar, change the all VSL, or should I stay broad and keep one funnel without specifying age? Dude, this market's huge. So, okay, let's use another example just for sport. Let's say men over 50, okay? We help men over 50 get XYZ result, which is like get toned or like get back to XYZ or be as, the same weight you were when you were 30 or do like whatever the thing is, okay? Those markets are still massive. So when you're saying like build a new funnel for each avatar, like you only need one avatar because you aren't like, unless you're doing millions a month or more, or even more than that, like your one avatar is fine. The messaging you use with the avatar, a little different, but again, millions a month. So like, you don't need to think about that. So you just need to pick one and be the best at it. So if it's like, you can always change this later, you can expand it later, you can go from here and go out. You can have a VSL that splits into 2, and now instantly you can have double the market size where they choose their own adventure on interactive. So it's like, I'm a male that's over 50, or I'm a male that's under 50, and the under 50 takes them in this track, and the over 50 takes them in this track, and like that's your new ID. Like now you can capture all males, and all males is like 4 billion people, and then take it to English speaking only. That's like this or whatever, right? So like the market's huge. So like you just need to own one niche. So I hope that answers. But just like pick an avatar, go hammer on it. Put that number everywhere, put the results everywhere, and just stay true to it, and don't be the we help everyone model. For direct response, because that's like the whole point. I'm speaking to an expert authority in the fitness niche. You guys crack me up. currently about building and publishing an offer with them. The offer I'm talking about doing is a 12-month high-ticket program with one-to-one combined with video libraries of workouts and programs built around their IP, community, and town hall sessions about health, nutrition, and lifestyle. The expert's highly qualified. If you had to start it over and rebuild everything you know now, what would you advise in terms of delivery offer structure? Don't worry about competition. Thank you. They're not female, and it wouldn't be a direct competitor. Got it. Thank you for the clarification. What's the question? If you had to start it over and rebuild knowing what you know now, how would you advise in terms of delivery and offer structure? All right. This is very dependent on who the actual avatar is, who the ICP, the niche, all those things. Because I was talking to someone, this is a great one actually. So I was talking to someone that sells a function of a biz op thing, okay? So they are basically like helping, let's call it barbers, get to whatever revenue number, get to 50K a month doing whatever, okay, let's just say. Now, they were structuring it as a 12-month program because they heard that we do it one or that someone else does one or whatever, and it's a 12-month now high-ticket program. Does 12 months seem like a short amount of time to get your goal? No, it does not. The person literally, if they could, would click a red button and they would get the exact result tomorrow. So why are you extending it to a year? The only time in my peanut brain right now that it makes sense to do that is if it's literally not possible to do it. And even then, you don't really want to frame it necessarily as that. So if it can take them 6 months or 3 months, do that. They want the result. So if it's in 90 days that you can help them get the result, and this is where it's actually matters, because when you're working with someone's body or doing this, what is realistic for the time frame, but also still a good offer? Because if it does take 6 months, we know, it takes years potentially to build this dream body, but to get XYZ result of thing, it could be 90 days, it could be 6 months, it could be whatever is the most realistic. Doesn't sound think of the extremes. I said this earlier, but it'll take 10 years to get your dream body. So we are selling a 10-year program and it's $50,000. No, versus a 1 year. Okay, we're getting closer. Is there a 16-week? Is there a 6 month? Is there something else that's in the median? We're talking about doing this right now, for example. But having something that's more entry friendly, and then once they're in and they understand this and this, there's other things to sell them. But I do like going high ticket because you do not want to compete with a $7 a month AI app. You don't want to do that. So live in the land of having those things for the offer structure. Now, the other side of this is understanding the cost of delivery in order to fulfill on something like this. So let's use simple math, but let's say, just for simple math, say it costs 10 grand for the year. Okay. In a version like this, when you have a one-to-one coach and you have this, you now pay a coach for a year. Okay. So what does the coach cost? How many clients does a coach need in order to have an XYZ income that is feasible or so they can be full-time or anything? Okay. Is that 60 grand? Is that 90 grand? Is that somewhere in between? Where is that land? Is that 150 because you're doing something? I don't know what the offer is or what the direct thing you're helping with, but let's say it's $1,000. Okay. Or let's go crazy. Let's say it's $3,000. So if it's $3,000 and 10K, okay, that's 30% of what you collected. Now, depending if you're doing ads, that's another 30%. If you have a 3x ROAS-ish, let's say. So now you're at 6. Let's say you have a sales team that's 10%. Now you're at 70%, right? So you're already down to 30% margin on that before you have overhead, before you have all these other things that stack. Now, the levers you have are playing with your acquisition, which is a function of marketing and sales, right? So the percents that live there. And then your fulfillment costs, and then your overhead and your other stuff, right? So just those quickly as a thing. Acquisition, how are you going to acquire them that you have an XYZ cost to acquire? And the other one, when you're asking about delivery and offer, is the type of fulfillment and what it costs to pay the coach for that term. And in this example, we use 3K, but how would you get it to 1 or 500 or 100, but still get really quality service? So this is where you have different levels of like you said, pre-called trainings, where you have group coaching, where you have software deliverables or AI, or those are things that are reducing the burden of what it costs to fulfill on the product. And there's a bunch of other levers you can pull on that. But that's how you have to kind of think about it. So if I had to start over, knowing what I know now, I would align it with what's realistic for the timeline, but don't make it seem like it's this crazy far thing. And when you also say it's 12 months, you now attach the cost of that to fulfill on it. So you likely can shorten it. You also can play with some of the levers on the deliverables in order to bring your costs down on what it cost to fulfill on it, but still provide really high quality service. But you can offer things that are free. You can offer partnership things. You can offer all these other things that can make it worth it and increase the value that doesn't cost you dollars. So I would think about it like that. Offer creation, structure, plus delivery. I think that's this. I assume that's the same person asking the same question. So how did we fail the second launch? And how to scale the multi-six figs off every launch. Basically, we launched a brand new offer, and it was 6-month cohort-based program, online swimming offer, priced at $600. Cool. Swimming, like swimming. First launch went well. We had $50,000 in cash collected in 7 days. Nice. 2 months later, we launched it again because you did So you did a 6-month cohort, and then you locked it down, and you're fulfilling on this one. You're 2 months into fulfillment on this one, and then you ran it again and only did 20K. Traffic source is Instagram. Acquisition source is waitlist funnel. 600 being direct to cart, no sales call. Hype was insane for launch 1. We didn't do as well for 2. Less Instagram content was pushed out too, but I didn't expect a massive drop from 50 to 20K from launches. How would you improve and scale to 6 figs? So yeah, you just have a consistency of traffic issue. So you had an audience of, let's use 100 people that were all jammed and excited about this thing that you had never offered. Like Hormozy just did his massive launch. He had however many hundreds of thousands of people that are like super fans and were like waiting, and he had never sold anything other than a couple books. And they're like all jazzed, and it's like this pool of all these people. And then you offer them something and they're all going to buy, or a higher percentage, a large percentage of them is going to buy. And then if he was to do that again in 2 months, it is going to be less of those people that are going to buy. Just like general rule, not saying him exact, let's just say. But like same audience pool again. Like first off, a bunch of them already bought a thing or the thing. Now if you're selling the same thing again, it's like all these people already saw this. Some of them already bought it. Basically the ones who just did were the ones who saw it the first time, or either someone brand new or someone who saw it last time and didn't get to get in and was like, okay, cool, I'll do it this time. But like, unless your audience is growing and or you have new, which is like paid media, for example, is new cold traffic or partner or whatever, all the different types of traffic source. Unless your audience is growing, you are not going to be able to convert them just over and over, right? It's getting smaller. It's getting less effective. You're also hitting them less times, which doesn't make any sense. I mean, it does make sense if you don't want to like hammer the audience because you're trying to use it for other things, but like that's to be expected. Everything here that happened is to be expected. So waitlist funnels are great. I've heard great things. We've never run one. I know somebody who's in a similar space to like in like a fitness niche that does really well with waitlist funnels and cohort based, and delivery gets to be is less expensive because they can do it in batches instead of evergreens. So like all the power, like rock on with that. You just need better acquisition or like a traffic source that's more consistent. So getting better at meta, getting better at whatever. And then you can run like hybrid waitlist too. So like you can run paid to a waitlist, and then there's ways I have seen and heard that people then do sales calls. We don't run any of these, so I'm not sure how that actually works. But like basically someone's on the waitlist, they're doing outbound dials to them, and then or having them fill out some application post waitlist confirmation that's like, why should you be accepted? And then the ones that have the highest, intent, you dial and you're like, hey, a spot actually opened up and you can join now. But that then breaks your cohort based fulfillment. So, and I think probably like, I don't even know FTC. I think if you say this, that, there's 2 spots and there's actually 4,000 spots. Like, I don't know how any of that works. Knock on everything. That's not my game, but yeah. This is all to be expected. So you just need consistency around traffic source and or an evergreen source of joining something. Ideally, that's some function recurring or has a backend. So what is your technical setup to tie sales to a winning ad? I'm trying to figure out a better system to be able to attribute sales to a specific ad a lead came in on. All right, so depending on how much you do, there's multi-touch. So the simple answer is just get a high-risk account. Super simple answer. So shout out those guys. That's basically the answer. So that's one way. Hyros is essentially doing is it's storing the clicks and it's storing where they came from. So if you click on an ad that came from, sorry, I'm getting away from the mic. I was getting jazzy. But if you have an ad and then you append XYZ parameter on it and someone clicks to your page, you can track that that person came to your page from insert here, channel and ad and whatever. So it's like meta, ad one, ad set, or campaign, ad set, ad. And like all of those things are in there. And it's like, hey, someone just clicked on your page and did this. Now that person then fills out a lead or becomes a lead, fills out an application, books a call, buys. That ad did it. Now where it starts to get like crazy is when they click on that ad and they don't opt in, but then they click on a Google instead of Meta and then they opt in that time. And then they're in your email sequences and they click on an email and then they apply and book a call. And then before they book a call, they click on 3 more ads because you're hitting them with Hammer Them campaigns that are all different. And then they purchase. Which one got the purchase, right? And it's like, that's why inside an Hyros account or whatever, or any of these attribution models, you're going to have last click, first click, scientific with 30 day, 60 day, 90 day, whatever the ranges are, or I think it's 30, 14, something. And scientific is meaning which one was the first click within that range, because you're trying to figure out which one actually like brought them into your ecosystem, not which one like was the last one they saw and clicked. But there's cases that it makes sense for last click. There's cases it makes sense to see which ones of the emails are driving the most clicks or the most action events. Like you can look at it in all these different views, all when it's stored in one location. So what Hyros does is it just takes all that stuff and just stores it all for the person and like fingerprints and grabs all that. And they also then feed that back to the pixel. We do not use it for training the pixel, but like that's a separate conversation that's completely unnecessary for up until XYZ number. So yeah, so it'll show you which ads, it'll show you which ad set, it'll show you all of that. And or you could store this on your own server and have your own custom data lake or your own CRM that stores all these things. But it just gets very difficult to see it inside Ad Manager, to feed it back correctly into what pixels, to see the viewer of what they clicked on when and like which one in the attribution models, and then overlay those on top of each other. Because like if you store all your own server data, it's like you're looking one-on-one at like what the traffic journey or user journey was. That they went through, and like you want to be able to look at like Meta and look at the viewer and be like, okay, on Scientific 30, here's what Meta says, and then you can go over to Google and be like, on Scientific 30, here's what Google says, and they're pulling from the same data, versus if you're like trying to store it on your own and then try and like match them back, just no. So very quick answer, Hyros. Alex Becker, what up? So next one. How do you research and test different emotions for your ICP? For example, your ICP may be rather broad, like adult 65 plus, but how do you dig even deeper into picking the emotions or state of mind that push them to make a purchase or sign up? How do you dive deeper, and how do you research and test different emotions? You run different tests. You have different ads and different angles, and they tie to different pages that generally would have different angles on them as well. And you lean into one and you test that, and then you test another one. A really good one is I don't know what I remember calling it, but it's like 3.5 hour video with Buyer of Media. I believe his name is at Buyer of Media now, or Alchemist or whatever. He got his X taken down, but he's on X and he shares a ton of stuff. But he went so deep into this, into all of the copywriting and psychology and everything behind this. But that's the simple answer, is you're just going to test them with different, very front end things, and which ones have higher click-through rates and which ones have higher cost per or lower cost per click. And ideally you can then bridge that back and then get opt-ins on different headlines and see which ones pull through. But in the end, the real answer is if you're going to full-fledged do this, it's not about just the click-through rate. It's not just about the cost per click. It's about what the actual cost per purchase is, or what the action you're targeting. So if it's for bookings or sales or whatever, which one is actually bringing in someone who's a buyer more so than, win the free vacation, you have a crazy high, CTR and low cost per click, but it's not an actual representation of your offer or what's really going to convert them. So doing it in a way that actually makes sense, where you're really every time you're testing these different emotions, they're tying to the core thing, is the one thing. And then I hear everyone just uses Claude now. I hear Claude is the number one copywriting goat for helping with this, and pulling from all the Reddit threads and pulling from comments on, reviews on product pages on Amazon on what people who have XYZ problem what their actual problems are, what they're seeing, what words they use, all that kind of stuff. But yeah. Jason Katasi, what a legend. Copywriting for pay-per-call. Oh, there's a question for his call. Sorry, guys. I didn't see this until, after the fact. I run insurance pay-per-call, auto, life, mortgage. I'm finding it super hard to make emotional stories that convert into policy sales. I can easily get a 50 to 60% hook rate with 4 to 7% link click-through rate. Good. But I struggle at making the viewer emotionally invested into the problem and solution. For the stuff I run, I can't run free or government angles, unfortunately. What is your advice on how I can make these emotional stories that sell something super boring like insurance, or at least make them invested enough to call and request a quote to see if it's a fit and have the sales agent convert them? Yeah, so again, I'm not the person to answer this, and you clearly wanted me to ask Jason this. So one, Jason would answer this if you asked him on X. So ask him after this video. First of all, if you're here, 49. Comment 49 if you actually just made it through me yapping for 49 minutes. I don't even want to tell you what time it is. Ask Jason on X, tag me and Jason, and I'll make sure that he sees it because I'm going to see him soon in person too, and we'll get this answered for you. But how I'm going to answer it is if you're getting great hook rates and you're getting good link click-through rates, but you're saying you're struggling at making them emotionally invested in the problem and solution, I don't know where you're feeling like that's the problem, but I assume it's because they're then not calling and or not converting on the call, which is a completely different issue. But if you're getting someone to get hooked, you're getting them to click, now they're landing on your page and they're not booking a call, it's what occurs on the page. So it's either not in connection to it, like these are great stats, but that you're not in connection with it. It is not a good offer. It is broken. It is whatever. So that's step number one in my mind. And again, I might not be the person to answer this for you, but you're saying that convert into policy sales. I don't know if you're meaning that they're not actually clicking to talk on the phone, which I think it is, because at least make them invested enough to call. So it's just the connection of how you're getting them to the page and then how the page is getting them to there. Like copywriting 101, like headline sells the subheadline, subline sells the first paragraph, whatever down, right? So it's just the page based on my simpleton brain. So I might be wrong in this, so tag me, but that's about as simple as it is. So making sure the continuity is there, making sure that it sells it. I mean, I've helped lead gen guys that have the simplest page you've ever seen with an emotional headline and a graphic or a calculator that's a graphic, not even an actual calculator, and a button. And all of them are clickable to the call. And they crush and do hundreds of thousands of dollars a day. So that's the gist. But that's what I got today. All the past videos are here. I did 120 days straight of these, but if you made it this long, you probably already know that. But that's what I got. Did 10 and a half or something like that over the last 2 months. It was actually more than that. We won the bet. That was fun. And yeah, that's what I got. I'm going to get back into making these, and I'm actually going to come up with some good ones to build as full walkthroughs and flow charts and fun things. I'm going to every info coaching event there is over the next quarter or 3 months. So talk to you guys soon. You're great. Hit me on X. I'm almost at 10K as this is recorded. It's 9.9K or something like that. So you guys are great. And I appreciate all of the support and kindness you throw. So talk to you guys soon. Hopefully this was valuable.